Pokemon trainers. Are you ready to become the next Pokemon master? Well, in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to teach you how to play the Pokemon Trading card game.
AJ Airflex.
To begin, we need to understand the different stages of Pokemon. In Pokemon, there are 3 stages. There is a Basic, a Stage 1, and a Stage 2. In this instance, Shinx is my basic Pokemon. That means I can play Shinx from my hand onto the board without any other issues. Shinx evolves into Luxio. So in this case, I need to play Shinx onto the board for 1 full turn before I can evolve Shinx into Luxio. So then Luxio would go on top of Shinx when it evolves. And for the last stage, Luxray, I would have to wait a full turn after evolving into Luxio to evolve into Luxray. So after Luxio's been on the board for a full turn, I can then play Luxray to the field. Now there are some Pokemon that only have 2 stages. Yamper and Bolton are a great example for that. So you play Yamper, Yamper evolves into Bolton, and the evolutionary line stops. Also with that, there are some Pokemon that don't have an evolution, like Marpeco. Marpeco does not evolve into any Pokemon, so Marpeco can just be played to the board, and it never evolves. In this deck, we're going to be using a Pikachu V card. Pikachu V is a basic Pokemon, and can be played from your hand to your bench like a normal basic. With Pokemon V, they do have a special rule here at the bottom. When your Pokemon V is knocked out, your opponent takes 2 prize cards. I'll explain that when we get to that in a little bit here. Now, other types of Pokemon cards we have to look at are the trainer cards. There are a few different types of trainer cards, but we're only going to cover 2 different types for this video. You have your item cards, and they're signified that by saying item in the top corner. And you have your supporter cards. Once again, they're signified by that by saying supporter in orange in the top. So for the item cards, you have 3 different types in this deck. You have Energy Recycler, Switch, and Great Ball. You may use as many item cards in 1 turn as you would like. In this deck, you have 5 different types of supporters. It's signified at the top, and you may only play 1 supporter per turn in this card game. The last card I would like to cover is going to be an energy card. In this case, this deck uses lightning energy cards. Now that is very important, so it says lightning up here in the top corner, and it has the lightning symbol in the center of the card. That is very important because when you look at the Pokemon's moves, it says they take a certain amount of energy. So in this case, to use Pikachu's first move, you need 1 lightning type energy. For Pikachu's second move, it says you need 3 energy. 1, 2 lightning, and this symbol right here means colorless energy. With a colorless energy, you may attach any energy type to it to take up that energy spot. So you can use a fire, a water, a grass, a psychic, or just another lightning energy. And then you can use that attack. So with that being said, you may only play 1 energy card per turn. So let's clean this up and start looking at a real game. Welcome back. So for the Pokemon Trading card game, there are 3 different ways you can win. First is by collecting all of your prize cards. You collect a prize card by knocking out your opponent's Pokemon. The way you do that is by powering up your Pokemon with energy and it being able to use their attacks. So in this case, I am all set up. I have 2 energy on Luxio, and I can use 1, 2 energy to use Electric Claws to do 50 damage to Victini. Victini here already has 20 damage on it from a previous attack, and if I do another 50 damage to it, it only has 70 HP as signified by the top corner of the card. So since I did 50 damage to it, Victini is now knocked out. Victini will then go to the discard pile, and then I'm able to pull a prize card and put it into my hand. Once I collect all 6 prize cards, I would win the game. The other way you can win the game is if the opponent has no more Pokemon on their bench. Let's say Victini has 20 damage again, and I hit it for 50 damage. It knocks out Victini, and they have no more Pokemon in play on their bench. I now win the game because they have no more Pokemon eligible for battle. The very last way to win, which is more of the most rare way to win, is if I were to draw every card in my deck by using different abilities. And let's say I got through my whole deck and I were to draw my last card. If I could not win the game in this turn, I would lose because I have no more cards to draw to continue the game. Those are the 3 different ways you can win and lose the Pokemon trading card game. So let's clean this all up and see how it looks from the very beginning. All right, to start, first thing we want to do is shuffle our deck. Whenever you have your deck freshly in order or a brand new deck, you usually want to do a pile shuffle. So you make 6 different piles, and then you continue to do that over and over again. You can take your time to do it. And then you pick up 1 pile at a time, you grab half of it, and feed it slowly into the other half. Once you do that a few times, pick up the next pile, do the same thing. It's very important to shuffle your deck. That way you don't run into the same thing over and over again. You don't want to keep running into Pokemon. You don't want to keep running into only energy. You don't want only trainers. You want a good balance of Pokemon, energy, and trainers into your hand. That way you can play the game properly. And there we go. The deck is now shuffled. Okay, so before you start the game, you need to figure out who's going to go first. You can do that with a coin or a die. If you do the coin, one person will flip and the other person will call heads or tails. So this is heads, this is tails. So if I'm flipping, my opponent would call it, say they say heads. So I flip, it got heads. So they're able to choose whether they go first or I go first. There are benefits to going first and there's benefits to going second. If I choose to go first, I am not allowed to attack with my Pokemon, and I am not allowed to play a supporter card for that very first turn, whereas the person who goes second is allowed to attack and play a supporter card. But if I go first, I'm allowed to set up the board first. So I technically get 1 extra turn to set up. If we use the die, it's the same concept. Odds 1, 3, and 5 are tails, and then evens 2, 4, and 6 are heads. So if I'm rolling, my opponent will call, say they call heads again. It got 4, so they're able to choose whether they go first or they go second. So in this case, we are going to go first to make it simple. To start your turn, you draw 7 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So when you draw your 7 cards, what you're looking for in your hands are basic Pokemon. So here I have 2 basic Pokemon, Shinx and Blitzel. On your play area, you have an active spot and you have your bench. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bench spots. So now you gotta choose a Pokemon to put into your active spot. The Pokemon that's in your active spot are the only Pokemon allowed to attack, unless if the attack of the Pokemon says otherwise. So in this case, I'm going to put Blitzel face down. I'm going to put Shinx face down on one of my bench spots. The reason why we put the cards face down is so your opponent doesn't know who you're leading with. That way they can't get an advantage over you by knowing what's there. So, after I put my Pokemon down, I'll wait for my opponent to do so. Alright, so now that we both drew our hands and put our Pokemon onto the active spot in the bench, we now set up 6 prize cards on the left side of the board. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. When you set your prize cards, you do not look at those cards at all. They are the prize cards you get for knocking out your opponent's Pokemon, and you are not supposed to know what they are until you knock out that Pokemon and draw one. So the opponent will do the same. So now the board is fully set up, we already know who is going first, we may begin the battle. So you start by flipping over your Pokemon. and the opponent will do the same. So from here, you're gonna follow this little box here, what you can do during your turn. I will preference now, it does not have to be in order, but we're gonna follow in order just to get the good pattern going. But you'll see me jump around a bit once we use other cards. So, beginning of your turn, draw a card. So I'm gonna draw one card and put it into my hand. Now when you hold your hand, you don't wanna hold it out to where your opponent can see it, because then they can guess what you're gonna do next. So you wanna keep your hand hidden, just by holding up like this. However, in this case, I'm going to show my hand, that way you can see what I am doing. So next, it's gonna say, put a basic Pokemon onto your bench. I do not have any more basic Pokemon in my hand, so I'm gonna go to the next step. Attach one energy card to one of your Pokemon. So I'm gonna take an energy card, and I'm gonna attach it to Blitzel. So, it says I need one energy to use my attack Zap Kick, so I attach one energy. The next step says, retreat your active Pokemon. A Pokemon can retreat if they're in danger or you want to get a different Pokemon up. They will have a retreat cost in the bottom right-hand corner. So I'll show you on screen right now. So if I were to want to retreat Blitzel, I would take this energy and I would discard it, pull him back to the bench, and put up another Pokemon. But we are not going to do that right now. Next step says evolve your Pokemon. This is our first turn, and you may not evolve a Pokemon on that same turn that you put it into play. Next one says play trainer cards. So, in our hand, we have two different trainer cards. We have a potion, which says healed 30 damage from one of your Pokemon. None of my Pokemon have damage, so I'm not going to use that yet. And then I have Great Ball. It says look at the 7 top cards of your deck, and you may reveal a Pokemon you find there and put it into your hand and shuffle the rest of those cards back into your deck. So we're gonna go ahead and use that. So I draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards. So from here, I was actually able to find my Pikachu V, the main highlight of this deck. So I'm going to put that into my hand, and I'm gonna take the rest of these cards I drew and shuffle it into my deck. Now that I've used that card, this Great Ball will go into my discard pile. Any card that has been used or is no longer in play will go into the discard pile. From there, I just drew Pikachu in my hand. As said, we can skip back to where it says put a basic Pokemon on your bench. I can do that as many times as I want during my turn, as long as I have room on my bench and I have a basic Pokemon in my hand. So I did that. I have no more trainer cards I can use. So now we can go to step 7, which says attack with your active Pokemon. Since we chose to go first, I cannot attack, so I'm going to pass my turn to my opponent. I'm going to draw a card. Step 1. Step 2 is put any basic Pokemon onto the bench. I don't have any. Step 3 is attach a basic energy card to one of my Pokemon. So I'm going to attach another energy to Blitzel. The next step is evolve any Pokemon. So I do have Zebstrika in my hand, so I'm going to evolve Blitzel into Zebstrika. If my Pokemon has damage on it and I evolve, the damage still carries over to the evolved Pokemon. So I have 10 damage, but I have 110 HP. Now from here, it's going to ask me if I want to retreat my Pokemon. I am not going to do so. I'm going to keep Zebstrika up. And it's going to ask if I want to play trainer cards. All I have is potion, and I can heal 30 damage for one of my Pokemon. I only have 10 damage, so I'm going to save the potion for now. So I already attached an energy, I already evolved, I did all my actions. So now I'm going to attack. I'm going to use my 2 energy to use a Zap Kick to do 70 damage to the Sizzlipede. And then since I attacked, I now pass my turn. I am going to draw a card. I am then going to attach an energy to Pikachu V. I will use my potion now to heal 20 damage off of my Zebstrika. And then I have nothing left in my hand I can do. I already attached my energy. I have no more trainer cards. I do not want to retreat Zebstrika, and I'm ready to attack. So I'm going to use that kick again to knock out Sizzlepede. It already has 70 damage. It only has 80 HP. So it's going to knock it out. And since I knocked out his Pokemon, I draw my first prize card. That card now goes into my hand, and it passes to their turn. So since the Pokemon was knocked out, they now have to promote a Pokemon to the active spot, and then they draw a card. All right, from here, let's see how this game plays out. I'm going to attack with Thunderbolt and knock out Volcarona and discard all my energy. Volcarona is now knocked out, and I draw my last prize card, and I just won the game. So, with it, whether you win or lose, it is still a fun time. It is not about who wins the game and who loses the game. You saw I played both sides, I played to the best of my ability, yet this side won. Pokemon does have a luck factor in it, depending on which card you get, so please keep in mind, if you lose the game, just get ready to win the next one. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and have an absolutely fantastic day.